Starbucks Workers United's Red Cup Rebellion, a coordinated day of strike action across 110 stores to coincide with the company's Red Cup Day.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Last Week in Southern Labor is a segment that we do every week, mostly, where we tell you what happened in the labor movement in the South. We pull the information from Jonah Furman's newsletter, Who Gets the Bird, which compiles all this information for the entire United States. So if you want to see what's going on outside the South, subscribe to his newsletter, whogetsthebird.substack.com. With that, let's jump into new organizing for the weeks of November 13th to the 27th. 56 First Student School Bus workers in Dalton, Georgia are organizing with ATU Local 1212. 360 hospital workers in 2 elections at hospitals of Providence's Sierra campus in El Paso, Texas, are organizing with SEIU Texas. 166 more Starbucks workers at 7 stores are organizing with Starbucks Workers United, including in Louisville, Kentucky, and Alpharetta, Georgia. 12 bookstore workers at Books A Million in Leesburg, Virginia, are unionizing with UFCW Local 400. UFCW Local 400 is also getting in on the coffee organizing wave, with 5 baristas at DC's La Colombe filing for an election. 102 workers at Pepsi Products Company, Acadiana Bottling in Youngsville, Louisiana, are organizing with Teamsters Local 270. 80 warehouse workers and drivers for LabCorp in Tucker, Georgia, are organizing with Painters District Council 77. 26 workers at Deep Roots in West Wendover, West Virginia, are unionizing with UFCW Local 711. 30 radio station workers at Charlotte, North Carolina's WFAE are joining SAG-AFTRA. 21 aircraft mechanics at the Elizabeth City, North Carolina Coast Guard Station are joining IUE-CWA. 21 workers who work for federal contractor Akima in Fayetteville, North Carolina, are unionizing with the Machinists. 11 subcontracted fire captains at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, are joining the IAFF, the International Association of Firefighters, Local I-101. 5 resident artists at the Sloss Furnaces building in Birmingham, Alabama, are joining the Boilermakers Union.
Nice.
Workers at the Amazon Air Hub in Hebron, Kentucky at the Cincinnati airport have gone public with their organizing drive. From the looks of it, it's not affiliated with the Amazon Labor Union or the Teamsters. In a promising sign, the AFA-CWA, the Machinists, and the Teamsters announced a joint effort to organize, rather than fight over, 3 different groups of workers at Delta: the flight attendants, ramp workers, and mechanics, respectively. Workers who tried to form an independent union at Lowe's in New Orleans have filed an unfair labor practice charge against the company after withdrawing their NLRB petition. It remains to be seen whether this means that the workers will regroup and take another crack at formal unionization. In South Carolina, hundreds of workers gathered to found the Union of Southern Service Workers, which is an outgrowth of the SEIU Fight for 15 movement. We had one win last week at the NLRB where 14 fiber technicians it was one loss where 14 fiber technicians at Cumberland Electric in Clarksville, Tennessee voted 4-10 against, joining the IBEW Local 175. In strikes and bargaining, DC teachers just won a tentative deal with 12% raises over 4 years, after 3 years without a contract. As we just reviewed, Joe Biden is attempting to get Congress to ram through a deal over the workers' rejection. This month saw Starbucks Workers United's Red Cup Rebellion, a coordinated day of strike action across 110 stores, including several in the South, to coincide with the company's Red Cup Day, one of the heaviest sales days of the year, which inaugurates the holiday season at Starbucks. The NLRB is also petitioning the federal government for a nationwide cease and desist against the company, firing workers for their union support, which is already illegal, but our labor law is broken. Separate from the nationwide action, Starbucks workers in Memphis went on strike as well. For Black Friday, Amazon workers and allies across the world protested, including right here in Alabama. Elsewhere in key infrastructure strikes, about 800 International Longshore Association Local 1410 members at the Port of Mobile, Alabama are on strike against terminal operator CSA after promised federal mediation never actually started. The dock workers have been without a local agreement while the national ILA is gearing up to negotiate its new national agreement with CSA's parent company. Warrior Met UMWA members marked their second Thanksgiving on the picket line, and Kim Kelly has a dispatch from Brookwood, Alabama. Unite Here's campaign against massive hospitality contractor Sodexo escalated with 2 strike authorization votes among convention center workers, including in Orlando, Florida, plus other possible job actions in New Orleans, Louisiana. Maybe I'll run into them while I'm on vacation. After many years of pleading for funding increases, the NLRB has announced that the agency will have to begin furloughing employees if they don't get more funding, basically immediately. Since the GOP took back the House, this has to happen before the end of the calendar year. And since there's a debt ceiling deadline of December 16th, there's basically 2.5 weeks to get it done. The first week will probably be consumed with the rail strike. Speaking of federal agency dysfunction, Labor Lab came out with a great new report on LM20 non-compliance, which is the extent to which union busters and those who hire them break the law by not reporting on their activities in a timely fashion. Get this, more than 80% of LM20 filings were delinquent in 2021 and 2022, in case you are looking for another way in which the deck is stacked against workers trying to organize. And if that weren't enough, Rebecca Rainey has a report on the Mine Safety and Health Administration, where, you guessed it, underfunding and understaffing, plus other agency dysfunction, means that existing mines are not getting inspected, and new mines that should be opened in the wake of all the recent federal infrastructure investment will likely be delayed. But this basic non-functioning of agencies intended to protect workers' right to organize is, of course, not going to be enough for the GOP as they take over the House. The ghouls at Littler Mendelson have a useful rundown of their predictions for Republican House. By the time you hear this, you should already know the result in the UAW's first ever membership-wide election of national officers, because the deadline will apparently not change after a judge appears to have rejected a suit to extend the voting period due to very low membership awareness of the vote. According to a federal monitor, just over 100,000 ballots have been received out of around 1 million mailed. In the meantime, yet another story about UAW financial mismanagement has come out, this time from Dan Boguslaw at The Intercept, reporting on how the UAW strike fund is systematically underreported to the membership and invested in brilliant things like FTX-affiliated crypto venture capitalist funds, while leadership limits fund payouts to actual striking workers. The IBEW will have new leadership in 2023 in far less dramatic fashion, with President Lonnie Stevenson announcing his retirement and the executive board being shuffled around to fill vacancies. The Washington Post looked at the state of public sector collective bargaining in Virginia as several groups of workers move closer to winning legally recognized union contracts in the wake of the 2020 state labor law reform. Workers in many jurisdictions, like the Fairfax County Schools, are still fighting to win local ordinances. And also worth mentioning, the 48,000 strong University of California academic workers of UAW Local 2865, UAW Local 5810, and Student Researchers United have claimed the mantle of the year's largest strike. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.